Hi Rob,
Jerry,
how are you doing?
what a pleasure.
Yes, I must say I'm very glad that we had this chance to sit down and talk.
Meet at last.
Yes, because I've been wanting to ask you a lot of questions, and I think there are a lot of people out there who are associated with music and the guitar who would be just as interested as I am.
Well, I certainly hope so.
Yeah, to find out what you have to say. Yeah, just a bit of background. I mean, as a guitar teacher myself, someone who teaches commercially, I was very fascinated with what I saw in your teaching method. One of the things that struck me, and there were a lot of things that struck me, but the first thing that was on my mind when I had the chance to look at your method was, why do you start off, devoting an entire first volume of your method to teaching students to play notes and music entirely just with the right hand thumb? And that was something that I had on my mind all this while, and I was wondering if you could enlighten us.
Sure.
As to your thoughts about that. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, the first thing, of course, that the thumb plays notes that are uniform much more easily than the fingers, and it's also much simpler to coordinate. Okay, so it's more responsive to dynamics, being a fairly powerful member of the quintet here. So it's possible to, at quite an early stage, differentiate between the idea of playing and the moment that we can differentiate between, and we have the basis for expression. Because this could be 1, 2, 1, 2. We have such a problem on the guitar with saying what is loud and what is soft, because
the range is not huge.
Well, everybody says, well, come on, the guitar is just a soft instrument, full stop.
Yes.
But we have to reorient our thinking to the world of the guitar, and the fact that the dynamics are in fact infinitely variable. It's just that they're infinitely variable within a teacup rather than within a swimming pool, or
right. Yes.
So this is where our mic applications come in. The idea that we're aiming towards a musicality which is just as fulfilling as the piano or the symphony orchestra or the string quartet, but we're doing it within a more miniaturized framework.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get a term you used. You said mic.
Mic,
as in MI.
Mainstream instrumental criteria.
Okay. And that's an acronym, right?
As an acronym,
okay.
From which we can only exploit these criteria through the use of a mic when we're performing publicly or when we're recording.
Okay.
It's the same thing, because so often artists are found to be competing with their own CDs,
right?
Where they've had the full range exposed through the use of the recording techniques.
Okay.
And then they come in and sit down and play a recital, and because of the fact that they're trying to do it without the mic, they either force the tone, which is no good, or the whole thing is so soft that people feel that if they so much as make the slightest sound, or
cough,
that they're spoiling the thing, so that they don't really let go and have the experience that the normal music media presentations offer them.
Yes, that is the thing with the guitar. But coming back to the method that you use, starting off with the thumb, so you're saying that because there's only one thumb, the tone is uniform, it's stronger, it can lend itself better, at least at an early stage.
Simpler to coordinate.
Yes. Would you be able to show us any applications of that for this, in terms of like the standard guitar repertoire that people know and love?
Okay, so well, let's say we have another problem here also, because now we're speaking of combining the thumb with the fingers.
Yes.
But let's say okay, let's make that leap of the imagination, and let's say I've trained my thumb to be properly strong.
Right.
All right. Now let's say for a minute that I haven't trained it to be properly strong, and I could very well end up playing. Which doesn't do justice to the bass of the soar, which should be Now, we might add at this point that it isn't just my thumb that's playing that, but it also is my arm.
Yes.
So when I'm talking with children, it isn't enough to say that the thumb should now play forcefully and it should now play light. We have to have a definite mechanism by which this is achieved.
Yes, and that's what I like about your method, because you actually talk about how it feels, how it should feel when you're playing hard, when you're playing soft, and medium loud, you know. Whereas, I mean, if I were a student, I wouldn't want my teacher to just say, I want you to play hard now. I want my teacher to tell me exactly how.
Well, there has to be a mechanism for everything,
yes.
Isn't it? And the idea that children do not have access to nails is...
They don't grow nails.
Of course not. I mean, they have to have a childhood, number one. Number two, most of the time their nails are hopelessly soft.
Right.
And you just simply can't involve the nails in any fundamental concept of the physics of producing loud and soft or of producing anything else. So what we do when we start out is the idea that the loud note is not only thumb power, it also is arm power. So that if I take the guitar and I say, that is loud. Now that compared with this, see, which is just thumb power, okay? So arm power.
Yeah. That's a very tangible demonstration to a student, you know, as to what kind of force he needs to be applying. For these accents.
So that getting back to the sore idea there, that this is actually pressure on the thumb
to bring that voice out,
to bring the bass out. Right. If we take this from the idea of repertoire and sort of devolve it back, then we would have a series of stages that we'd go through. For instance, let's take metric accents. For instance, okay. My typical idea of how I would hear a guitar play, say, a waltz, would be
that's what most people would learn. I mean, how they would learn it. Learn to play it at least.
Because
in any setting,
there's too much emphasis on the treble.
Yes.
Right. Whereas in actual fact, to be convincing, the waltz should be.
Arm
power. Right.
The arm through the thumb to bring out the first beat of the
waltz. And then when I'm into the fingers, I have a little bit of arm power on the first finger because that's the strong, medium, weak, right? And just finger power on the third one.
Yes.
So again, we have a mechanism whereby we can conceptualize in terms of the physics first and foremost, rather than the subjectivity, you know, that, oh yes, it feels nice and I'd love to be able to play that way, yes, but how do I do it?
Yes, that's the operative word. And it's not just the fact that you go into the mechanics and the physics, as you say, but the fact that you bring these things, these elements on very early in the method.
Yes.
I mean, you talk about dynamics
very,
very soon. As soon as someone starts, in the first volume, he's playing loud and soft.
Right.
Would you like to tell us a bit more about your thoughts on that?
So if we continue this train of thought, all right, the hardest thing, the biggest problem that we have is to establish mezzo forte.
The medium
mezzo forte is a combination of some arm and some thumb. See, mezzo forte actually means moderately loud.
Yes.
So mezzo forte should be projecting. You know, piano is the idea of like this, and forte is like right
in your face.
Yeah, in your face. So the problem with the mezzo forte is some arm. See, so okay, there is some arm. Now my full arm is that, okay, and possibly augmented with the idea of doing this, although not for beginners. And then the piano, of course, is just the thumb.
Right.
So if we combine the two together, mezzo forte. Okay, now forte. I've got to really be able to bang the you-know-what out of
Yes,
that
yes.
to make it convincing, right? And that gets into the altered state psychologically.
The altered state.
The altered state, the idea of aggression.
Right.
You know, the yin and the yang have to begin to figure into this as soon as possible. Here I'm in the mid-level, right? Okay, now I'm going to whack you, man, right? You know, and getting particularly young girls, you know, to do this can be young Asian girls. That
Quite
can
a challenge.
be quite a challenge
because of their physical stature.
Exactly,
yes.
and then the fact that they're, you know, so you have to get all that taken care of as soon as possible,
Right.
you know. And then for our piano, now this one is
Far away.
That's,
Far away.
yeah, that's
yes.
the idea of
Yes.
right. So altered states, yin and yang, aggression as opposed to, you know.
Yes.
I have a secret I want to tell you. Right? Okay, so.
That's amazing, I must say. I mean, just teaching expression at such an early stage.
Right.
It's quite unheard of and quite revolutionary in terms of guitar literature. Yes.
But the once you link it up with these fundamental states, you know, of aggro as opposed to secrets,
Yes.
then kids are fine with that.
Yes.
You know, they just have to overcome the fundamental inhibitions involved in tricky physics.
Physics first.
You know?
Yes.
So what I try to do is to bring this in playable ways. For instance, study for forte and piano.
Okay.
Now. So there we have two clearly contrasting levels of material, written in such a way that to play that as soft is easy, and right, carrying through the melody on the fourth string, which is a very bangable
Yes.
note.
Yes.
You know.
So you make it all achievable and possible for the student.
You know, so this is coming out of me as a composer, and it's coming out of me as a mic associated
Mainstream instrumental
criteria. You know, because I'm married into a family of string players, and you know, these people don't kid around, man.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, you know, it's all going somewhere.
Yes.
Nobody's taking any refuge in fast notes or you know, making the guitar sound like a little piano.
Yes.
Or what have you. So
You're putting the guitar on a level that's comparable to
hopefully.
to
Thank you.
mainstream instruments.
You pay me great respect.
Well,
that has
certainly-
been the effort.
It certainly is the result that you're producing.
Thank
through,
you.
through this method.
Thank
I
you.
must say.
You seem to be convinced I don't have to do much work.
No, I just want to
Yeah.
find out more, and I think people are interested to find out a lot more about this approach
Right.
that you have.
So here would be an example of something that we could do with metric accents
Okay.
that I call wallpaper. And the idea here being that a pattern must be maintained very conspicuously and without deviation. If it's because, like with wallpaper, if we have a flaw, our eyes tend to be directed to the
Zero
flaw.
in on the flaw.
Even
yes.
the slightest flaw of any
Okay.
kind, you know.
Right.
So therefore.
Yes, certainly has a wallpaper effect.
Right.
Yes, and you're also bringing metric accents into this.
So important to maintain.
Yes.
With a little bit of articulation.
Yes,
And
the
a shape.
staccatos and everything. Yes.
A shape.
Yes.
Right.